Now let's go right to the founders and CEOs of tech companies recently sold. We've got a great international panel today, and I'm looking forward to hearing what they have to say. Let's start with brief intros.
Sure. This is Jim Falkanger, Elevia Software CEO.
My name is Erik Lidman, General Manager for Bizview. I've been that from this January, February this year. So before that, I was the CTO of Bizview.
I'm Kerri McConnell, General Manager of Tuxera US and VP of Worldwide Corporate Development.
Thanks, Kerri. Now, can you each tell me a little bit more about your company? Jim, let's start with you.
So Elevia Software helps architectural and engineering firms improve business processes and drive increased cash flow. So we create a number of add-on financial modules that extend a core ERP software system. It allows accounting folks, it allows project management staff to increase their visibility. And with that increased visibility, they can more quickly make decisions, move invoices, approvals, payments, everything related to the financial process of a firm through the ERP system quickly and with increased information.
And how'd you get started?
Well, it grew out of providing a customization for a large engineering firm in the Midwest. We started showing the application that we had created to other engineering firms, and they discovered that there was value in the particular application. And from there, we just continued showing it to other engineering firms, later architectural firms. And as a result of that, we spun out a separate business unit and later created a separate identity, which is Elevia Software.
Thanks. Erik, what about you? Tell us more about Bizview.
Yeah, we're a Scandinavian software company. Started in 2002 in Sweden and Norway, working with the EPM, CPM, or what Gartner now calls the FP&A market. So we're into planning, budgeting, forecasting, reporting, analytics, helping the office of the CFO to become better on providing information and data from all their different ERP systems and other systems, also like the source system to look into the future, bringing financial intelligence to the office of the CFO.
Great. And Kerri, what about your company?
So Tuxera is a software provider, and our software helps make data in all different kinds of embedded devices reliable. And that means both in terms of speed of operation as well as in the integrity of the data that those devices capture.
Let's talk about how your deals came together. Kerri, you've got a story around that.
Well, it's kind of interesting because Datalight, the company that we were before we were acquired, had been looking for an exit a few years earlier, but hadn't really quite found the right fit. And so we had decided to focus on organic growth. And then we were approached by Tuxera, and we're a little reluctant at the beginning to engage because we had encountered them a couple of times in competitive situations. They're in a similar market. And it took a bit of a soul searching on our part before we decided that we were interested in engaging on a potential acquisition. We'd been down the road before, and we know that anytime you're looking to sell a company, there's a pretty significant distraction factor. So, it's time consuming. It requires that you split your focus between, growing your business and serving your customers, and then, courting this potential suitor and being available for answering their questions and pulling up the information they're looking for and that sort of thing. So it's a commitment to even engage in a discussion. But in this particular case, there also was a little bit of a hesitation because we served similar markets. We have similar customers. And so we wanted to make sure that we weren't going to compromise the ability to compete by exposing too much of ourselves if the deal didn't happen.
Erik, how about Bizview? How did that deal come about?
The last 10 years, we have worked with our product called Bizview, which is like the latest web technology with deep functionality when it comes to planning and reporting. It can be run on-prem or in the cloud. It works for mid-sized business up to enterprise. We started in the board last winter to discuss, okay, how can we grow this company beyond where we were? We had really good, strong financial and development the last 5 years, grown a lot, have a strong position, fantastic product, proven customer success. And we were trying to grow outside of Scandinavia, and we have built a partner network in many other countries. But we were feeling that, okay, to actually go into the international market, we need to have some more power. So that was the objective why we started this process. From there, we ended up actually selling the whole company in September to Insight Software, which is a US-based software company with 20 offices around the world. So, I mean, they have the international reach, the global network, and the resources to scale up the Bizview business. It shifted, but we found the right buyer, which we are very happy about.
And Jim, what about Elevia?
We, are at the point where we created what we thought was a substantial customer base. And we attended an event in the fall of 2018 that was an M&A presentation traveling through, in this instance, the Minneapolis-St. Paul market. So it piqued our interest, wondering whether now might be a good time to test the market. And as a result of that, we began some investigation. That led us to interview 3 different M&A firms, which ultimately resulted in us deciding to hire Corum. We were impressed with the particular representative, the senior associate that we worked with. He was very knowledgeable. He knew our space, and we could very quickly get up to speed and talk about our business model. So that impressed us. And we didn't want really a generic M&A provider. We wanted somebody that could understand the idiosyncrasies of our market, the nuances, and be able to parlay that or relay that in conversations to prospective buyers.
What surprised you the most about the M&A process?
We were really impressed with both Corum and then ultimately the suitor. We found it to be a very invigorating process. We learned a lot about it. We learned a bit about our company, things that we didn't even fully understand when we went to market. But yes, we found that to be probably the most enlightening part of what was almost a year-long process for us. I knew that it would take a period of time, and it did. We did have, I think, some high points where we were thinking we were going to go in one direction, and then we ended up by perhaps taking a right turn and going in a different direction, and that's all tied to prospective suitors and who we were speaking to. But ultimately, we were very pleased with the outcome. And I think that is owed to the fact that the gentleman we worked with at Corum briefed us well in advance, and we were able to understand the process, and I think that helped us through it.
What about you, Erik? What surprised you the most?
Well, I mean, just the amount of work required. I mean, from the big things to like the small details of things. But most surprising, I think, the need for speed in this process. Everyone wants these kind of transactions to move as quick as possible. The buyer want to close the deal as fast as possible, and we as the seller want to go back and focus on our normal business. So just the requirements from day one to just closing the deal and get back into normal business. It's a lot of work during a very short amount of time. We started in February to actually move forward. We had some contacts with the Corum since before. So actually in March 2019, we worked out the business case and the material and so on. During May, June, we made a true search and presentation. We ended up with due diligence during July and August, and the deal was made in September. And one funny thing about this story is that, in the Nordic countries, in Sweden, Norway, everyone has vacation during July because this is the only time of the year where we have some good temperature and sun. So everyone is on vacation, and we had our due diligence there during July. So that meant that we were a very small group of people, and our auditor and a lot of other people, they were on vacation. So it was a very stressful July with a lot of phone conferences and with a lot of people. So and in one way it was very much work, but on the other hand we didn't have any other normal business to take care of. So in one way it was a very good period to do this during vacation.
Kerri, how about you?
I think the surprising thing as we went through this process was the depth of investigation that was done as part of due diligence. In hindsight, well, of course, if you're getting ready to acquire a company, you're going to want to know all the nuts and bolts of the business. But it was very intensive to pull together, and the timelines were pretty quick because both companies wanted to not sort of spin our wheels for a long time. Again, back to that distraction factor that I mentioned earlier. We wanted to either do the deal or not do the deal fairly quickly. So we had to provide a lot of information. Fortunately, we're pretty good at that, but a lot of information that it was sensitive at the time. So.
We've come up to our half-hour mark, but we're going to keep going with our panelists for a bit longer. If you need to leave, we understand, and hopefully you can pick the rest up on demand from our website. Now, let's go back to you, Kerri. Were there things in this process that you felt particularly well prepared for?
Well, I think that one of the things that we really did well at as Datalight is we had a very good system for keeping track of our customers. We have very well documented processes, which actually turned out to be one of the deal value points for Texera. And we were able to sort of answer questions quickly. So if somebody asks you, well, how many customers do you have in this segment or in this country? And you're able to sort of go to a system and pull that information together, it makes the process much more smooth.
We were very well prepared when it comes to our products. We have a really world-class product, really good positioning and messaging since before. And when we brought this into this wider context, for sure, it's a lot of hard work, but we have a great opportunity here. I'm now working with a deal in Hong Kong with an enterprise-size customer. This is a deal that we never had seen before, so we are really excited.
What advice do you have for the tech CEOs in our audience today who are considering M&A?
We highly recommend hiring a professional advisor like Corum. We discovered when we attended a seminar, as I mentioned in 2018, that all of the information, all of the steps, all of the sequences necessary to successfully complete a transaction is really beyond the typical company. Unless they have their own legal department, if they've been through transactions before, they're really ill-prepared and unprepared to go to market. So we would strongly encourage any organization looking to test the market to see their value, perhaps sell their organization, to retain an organization like Corum.
Try to have a clear idea of why you want to sell. I mean, in our case, it was not about selling. We were successful and we wanted to grow. So our take on this was to go much wider internationally. Advice number 2 is to for sure find the right partner or advisor in this kind of process. In this case, it was the Corum advisor, which helped a lot. And advice number 3 is to, sounds easy, but find the right buyer. I mean, it's not only the money, it's also a lot about what the buyer can bring to the table. We had a lot of meetings with different companies, PE companies, saying that, okay, you can get money, we can place some senior board member in your board, and your CTOs can have like a yearly meeting where they can meet other companies in their portfolio companies. But I mean, it was not really the things we were looking for. Make sure that you find the right buyer, make a due diligence of the buyer, and try to figure out what are the buyer objectives behind the scenes. Connected to that is make sure that the cultural fit between the companies are good. And when we found Insight Software, one of the most important things when we were over in US meeting the management team and so on, we really felt that we were the same. We were thinking the same kind of, in the same kind of way. And also the Insight Software has a very good M&A team. So the process from the point of time of the acquisition until now when we are integrated has been very smooth. And that's important to make sure that the buyer has a plan for how to integrate.
I think one of the most important learnings for me through this process is that you really have to keep your ego in check. As business owners, we invest a lot, both, of our time, of our money, and of our emotional commitment, to our babies, right, as we grow them. And anytime you have somebody sort of looking very deeply at, where you are and what you've done, there's always things that come up that aren't as perfect as you'd like to hope that they would be. And so you have to sort of learn to let that go and go, it is what it is. Yes, you've worked hard at building it, but it's not perfect. No company's perfect.
And finally, what are you doing now that the deal is closed?
One owner was a silent owner. The two other owners, myself included, we've really been winding down. We're transitioning to the new executives. We have another company that we're going to be spending time with. And so we've been transitioning a number of executive items, leadership items to the new organization. And we intended to do that all along. We had that in agreement from the start. And so my role will go away here in the very short future, and that'll be absorbed by the new organization.
We're now part of a bigger group. We have a lot of integration with systems and stuff going on for sure. But for me right now, it's very much about from the business side, looking at our 2020 strategic game plan regarding marketing, sales, partners, implementation capacity, development plans, etc., to try to push this in 2020.
Right now, I'm very involved in sort of integrating the two companies and making sure that we can get the 1 + 1 = 3 equation to work out. Since we have headquarters in Helsinki and then our North American headquarters in Seattle, it's been an interesting challenge to navigate the time zones and make sure that the two parts of the organization really start functioning as one.
Thank you, everyone. There's a lot of good experience and advice to unpack there, and I know our audience appreciates your time.